Hey, welcome to our new groundbreaking 12-week live podcast series that delves deep into the heart of the hairdressing world, promising to change the way you view you and your salon experience forever. Hosted by the dynamic duo, myself and Mariana, two seasoned hairstylists with the passion for innovation and authenticity. This podcast is your guide to unlocking the power of change from the inside out. With candid live discussions, expert insights, and a touch of humor, myself and Mariana create a safe and inspiring space for listeners to embrace change, boost their self-esteem, and unlock their true potential. Are you ready to step into a world where hairdressing is more than just a service, but a path to personal growth and empowerment? Join me and Mariana on this new series and be part of a movement that's changing the hair industry from the inside out. Your journey to renewed confidence and self-discovery starts here. So we're having a 12-part series. This is episode 11 called Archetypes. Archetypes are the ancient universal symbols that have woven themselves into the very fabric of our human psyche. Like timeless characters in our grand narrative of existence, they appear in myths, stories, and dreams, embodying fundamental aspects of the human experience. From the hero's journey of courage and triumph to the wise sage wisdom and guidance, archetypes are the archetypes are the mirror through which we explore the depths of our own souls. They resonate with us because they reflect the collective emotions, desires, and fears that have threaded their way through human history. Archetypes offer a profound understanding of our uttermost selves, guiding us as we navigate the complex labyrinth of life, helping us tap into our hidden strengths and empowering us to become the heroes of our own stories. In the world of archetypes, we find a language that speaks the very core of humanity, transcending cultures and eras, reminding us in the tapestry of existence, our own stories are just threads in the grand design. Let's get started. In the comments, let us know where you're from. And if you're watching live or you're watching the replay, please share this live and make sure to heart it up to let the social platforms know how you're enjoying this content. So what are three words that come to mind when you think archetypes? So we're going to start right now. We're going to jump in. Please feel free to comment as we chat and put your comments and questions in the comments for Q&A. So let's go. Let's welcome Mariana, and we're going to do a deep dive into archetypes. So as we go into archetypes, so we're already on number 11. So we only have one more after this in our 12-part series. So I know archetypes probably thinking to say, what the heck are archetypes? So you're going to dive deep into the main ones, what they're all about. So let's get started.
Good morning to you all, and good evening for you in Canada and America that are listening, and to my Australian tribe here in Australia. Yeah, archetypes. And it's a really it's a very interesting concept. You know, when at the beginning, when I sort of brought archetypes into light of what we do as hairdressers, there was a lot of questions as to, like, you know, how do the archetypes fit in with what we do? And it is a very, you know, it's a therapy term, and it is established by Jung, and it has actually been threaded through theory in psychology and theory in transpersonal counseling and all of these areas. But it's very evident that what we do with clients is very archetypal. And I just wanted to start off with something very simple for everybody so that you can understand archetypes from a personal perspective as a hairdresser. And the first thing I was going to say is that from my perspective, I believe that there are 4 major archetypes that show up in the salon. So before we get into the subject, what I want to ask our listeners and our viewers this morning is just take a moment and feel into which archetype, which persona. I'm going to actually just put persona in right now, or personality or character that might help start softening you into understanding what archetypes are. Because remember, these podcasts are actually about us changing language and us upscaling our ability to understand other language and include other theories into what it is that we're doing to expand our knowledge base. So archetypes, persona, characters, we're just going to put them there for now. So in the salon, I believe that there are 4 major characters that show up in the salon. One of them first being the manager, the director, the owner, the leader of the salon. That's the first person. The second person, I just want you to just sit with, and who are you as I'm sharing these? Who shows up? Which persona are you as I'm reading this out? The second one is the artist, the extrovert, the socialite. The third one is the empath, the sensitive, the quiet one, the great listener. The one that takes on usually a lot of emotional baggage from people and doesn't realize it. And the fourth one is the therapist, the great listener, the problem solver, the advisor, right? So these are the four major characters, I believe, that show up in our salon spaces. And there are more, but these are the main ones. So which one do you feel that you are right now? If you're listening or watching, put that in the comments. That'd be amazing to have a conversation about it. Who is it that shows up in your persona in the salon, in a individual showing up, and then in the dynamics of a team, which is really important, because we're going to look at this at the micro level first, which is the individual. And then I want to look at how archetypes expand into the macro whole team situation, and how, if you've got overlapping personalities, overlapping characters, overlapping archetypes, how sometimes they can clash in a salon dynamic in a team space. So these are really, really important. Then we're going to take it into how we can actually identify archetypes in our clients, and how archetypes actually enable us to transform our clients more authentically when we understand this. So these are really like really tangible transformative suggestions here and theories here that we're bringing into this. And if we're transforming clients from the inside out, then we really need to understand the characters of these personalities that we're dealing with. So there is no comments at the moment. No, there's none. So I'm actually going to take it a little bit further, and we're going to just take a look at it. The director, to begin with, the person that runs the salon. There's a sort of there's an energy about the leader. They're usually authoritative. They're usually strong. They're usually visionaries. They're usually leaders. They're usually, they're the boss. Let's just put it down. They're the boss. They lead the team. And depending on the kind of character that you are, whether you're integral or you are about targets and money and business, depending on what characters you actually attribute to this director, this leader that you are, or manager, if you want to call yourself that, in the salon, depends on the kind of response that you're going to get from your team. So just sit with that, sit with that little piece. What kind of a director, leader, manager are you? Are you integral? Are you target focused? Are you a combination of both? What kind of response do you get from your team? How does your team respond to you? Are they tense? Are they contracted? Are they open? Do you have really open, loving, expanded conversations, like transparent, authentic conversations with your team? Or are they strained? So this is what I'm sort of like bringing in. It based on the character that you are and how you show up depends on how you actually receive response and engagement from other people. And a lot of times when this happens, we're very quick to sort of point or project onto our teams, onto our staff, onto clients. We project and go, oh, this person's this and this person's that. And we don't take accountability for what we are. So archetypes are the structure. They are the understanding, the characteristic and behavioral understanding of, if you are within this persona, if you are wearing this persona, or you are this persona, or have developed this identity, there are certain characteristics that go within this. So I'm keeping it really simple here in terms of like, so we're looking at the identity, behavioral characteristics. This is what an archetype is. So when we're talking archetypes, we're talking about a collective known, usually very silent, not talked about in general spaces. You know when you walk in, you can identify the owner usually immediately because they have a stance about them. They have an authority about them. They're maybe in a suit, or they may be managing the place. They're not maybe on the floor. There is a certain stance about them. There's a certain confidence about them. Usually that's sort of like part of the character of a leader or a director or a manager. And if you look at the artists, like they're so usually easy to identify because they're usually extroverts, they're loud, they're social, they've got a party going on around them. They're just this very social, attractive, energetic. They've got a character, they've got identity, they've got behavioral patterns within them that you can identify, and you immediately go, oh, that's the artist, that's the stylist, that's the energy right there. And so what we're talking about here is identifying characteristics, identifying behavioral patterns that we can actually put within an archetypal understanding. So when we're talking archetypes, when we say, oh, the artist, you know exactly what I'm talking about immediately. We don't need to go through the whole array of, oh, an artist, is an extrovert, an artist is creative, an artist is visionary, an artist, all of those things you immediately know. So archetypal awareness actually gives you this foundational understanding of the character, the person, the identity that you're working with. So it simplifies when you're going in and working with a client. It enables you to simplify understanding who they are by knowing what archetype that they're actually carrying, and sometimes transitioning out of. Like sometimes when we talked about rites of passage, you might get a client that is actually at a transitional point in their life. They're moving through a rite of passage and they're shifting from one archetype to another. Example, they're moving from being a single person to a mother or a father. That is an archetypal transition. And understanding that, talking about the mother, a very general archetype to talk about. When you say the word mother, everybody already immediately says nurturing, comfort, support, compassion. These are the words that will come out and run out when you actually just say the word mother. Same as the word father. There'll be words that come out immediately that are associated to that archetype. So this is what we're talking about this morning.
Well, I know for myself, being a salon owner or that sort of thing, people kind of always knew, even if new people were coming in, if you never, even not introducing yourself, they always knew that, oh, that is the owner. Or for me, even going out, it's something I think you carry, that you exude or radiate or something. Because even being in stores that I don't work at, people would come up to me and assume I was a manager or an owner, and I think it's how you carry yourself. It's like that type of person, how you walk, how you look, how you dress. Like, and why would people come up to me in a store I don't even work at? Obviously, if I knew it, I would just help them. but not, not working there. But that's the thing. I think in some, like when you have your own salon, it's that's the thing. Do you want people to know that you're the owner, or do you want to build a team so strong that the person coming in doesn't know who the owner is? But obviously the owner carries some type of energy with them, I believe.
Yeah, they do. And I believe like it's innate as well. Like we have to really take a look at it. And at the moment, I don't believe there's a lot of awareness around these specific characteristics that are actually carrying out. They just show up in their authenticity and their organicness in the way that a team is built. But I'm like looking at it from a macro perspective. And if we had an awareness of, in order to build a great solid team, we're going to start off with the team here. We're going to build a great solid team. Then having one of each of these characters in our team is going to actually create a really beautiful, harmonious balance, because you're going to have one of each character or more, depending. Like we also have supporters, which come in at this, which I haven't. It's the hairdressing archetypal pattern for me is huge. I've only just picked a couple of them to actually share today on the podcast. Otherwise, we'd be here for 5 hours, Brad.
Yes. going through all the different ones. Yes.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So like, we're just going to talk. I'm just going to keep it really simple and just go, okay, so if we're really looking at, say, for instance, a salon dynamic, and we have a manager there, let's just keep it to the fore, a manager, an artist, like a lead stylist. Let's just take that away from the artist to the lead stylist. Yeah, the head cutter. They're usually quite artistic and out there. And then we have the empath, which is usually, I find, a supporter, a colorist, a stylist, a quiet stylist that actually supports the artist usually. And then we have the therapist, is usually the person that spends long times with their clients. It's usually in the color room, I have found from my experience, where clients are actually sitting there getting a balayage, getting foils, getting whatever they are, and they're sitting in the chair for 2 to 3 hours getting a service. And those colorists become quite apt at becoming great listeners, great empaths as well. They actually bring that in, but they're usually advisors. They're usually when their clients will actually start asking them, oh, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? So you know who you are. So imagine if you had one of each of these characters in your salon and the kind of dynamic that you would have, the kind of balance that you would have. And this is what we're looking at here with this new structure, this transformation of transforming our salons from the inside out, and being mindful of having characteristics, archetypes that show up in each of our team members that are supportive and not destructive, which can sometimes happen if you have too many of the same archetype. If you've got too many artists in a room, you're going to end up with chaos. If you've got too many directors in a room, you're going to end up with chaos. If you've got too many empaths in the room, it's going to end up in chaos. So if you've got too much of something, it's not going to be balanced. So just wanted to start off our conversation there in leading into the deeper stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. And nobody wants a place with too many strong personalities, because obviously strong personalities are going to clash, and it's going to be in everybody's face. Strong personalities from the client, strong personalities from the staff, strong personality from the manager, strong personality at the desk. That's a whole recipe for
disaster. Indeed.
Exactly.
And I want to take it a little bit further. And do you show up in these characters, these personalities organically? Or do you have to put on this suit when you get to the salon? Like, are you taking on and off? We've talked about this when we're talking about, where were we? In one of the last podcasts, we're actually talking about taking on and off identities.
Yes.
Putting on the hairdresser's suit to actually go to work. And then when you're leaving, you take off the hairdresser's outfit and you become another person, which causes fractures and splits in the personality. So I'm really advocating that this doesn't happen, and that we actually maintain integral authenticity right through from beginning to end. And we're not a different person when we go home. We actually remain fluid within that. Archetypes are a part of this. This is a really big part of the archetypal pool that we're just leading into at the moment. So a little awareness that I want to bring in here: do you put on the artist outfit when you go to work? And you're an artist at work and you're an extrovert and all the rest of it, and then you leave and then you're an introvert. And when you get home, if you're a manager or an owner, do you actually become submissive at home and you allow your partner or whoever you're with to actually manage the household and all the rest of it? So you're not really running that right through. You're not actually, it's a character that you're putting on. It's not an authentic personality. And this is the fine line that I want to get to, in terms of, let's maintain integral authenticity right through our characters, our personalities, and our behaviors, so that we don't create splits in our personality.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people definitely change their, their archetype. They do what they have to do at work. I'm going to be bubbly. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be the greatest listener. I'm going to be the most amazing rock star, hairstylist, and then at home, their life is totally different. They're like, I'm so exhausted now because I've been so lively and happy and listening and all the things they said they were going to do. Now they're exhausted from it because it wasn't with it's now with their inauthentic self. So of course, now that's wearing. It's same with a manager, same with that. And some, I know I can understand, like an owner or a manager, they're making decisions all day. Sometimes they want to go home and not have to make decisions. They want to, kind of pass that off to someone else and say, I've been making hundreds of decisions all day. I need a break. And that's fine if you discuss it with whoever's at home and say, this is my day. And I'm feeling now, I went in 100, but now I'm about a 40. And I need you to pick up the 60 because I need to disengage, and it happens because a lot of us do that. We go to work. You're like, I'm going to be pumped. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be this, because we're all about the client. You're serving them, but you're also serving them inauthentically, because you're going to wear yourself out a lot quicker, by doing so, by that mask, so to speak, or that we've been talking about. But we always talk about, being authentic, being in your authentic self, and boundaries and things like that. But I think architects, it still filters into that as well, because the architect that you are, or that you choose, or that you have, they also require a certain amount of 100% authenticity, and they also need boundaries as well. So if you're a manager and you need certain boundaries, if you're a stylist archetype and you need a boundary, if you're a rock star stylist, head cutter, I don't know if you want to say that, like a headhunter, but no, but it all, as I say, to make it work successfully, it has to all be in alignment, because eventually it's going to break down somewhere if it's not, like, it's not the person. But I think sometimes too, some people can be more than one archetype, because they wear more than one hat in the salon as well. Like, they're a manager, but they're also a stylist behind the chair. They deal with clients. They're also now taking appointments, or a hairstylist and now taking appointments. Now they're kind of shifting a little bit. So it's where it is in that authentic archetype. Is it 100% that type, or is it you're 50% one type and 50% another type during the day? Does it alter? Does it switch? Does it go hand in hand? And can more than one person have more than one archetype as well?
Yeah, they can. I will say they can. I believe that they
Mhm.
can, but I believe that also is the cause of burnout, you
Mhm.
know, and what I'm advocating here with this conversation is, how do you embody a complete archetype and actually stay within that archetype and have it integrated? Because burnout actually comes from splits. Burnout comes from the putting on and off of the hats, you know, and trying to have these conversations around alleviating burnout, creating boundaries where you know yourself implicitly and you go, I
Mhm.
can't live that role anymore because this role's exhausting me and it's not bringing me joy. So it's like, it's really about, and I get that hairdressers put on multiple hats through the
Mhm.
day as being a manager and then being a stylist on the floor and then answering phones. But it's not something that we need to continue. It's
Mhm.
not it's not something that needs to stay. Like, for instance, if you're working on the floor on a day and you are the owner of the salon and you've got a full
Mhm.
book as well, you can actually turn the phone off and put a
Mhm.
message tape on it and actually not answer the phone that day. If you work one-on-one with your clients, you
Mhm.
can actually go, I'm not answering phones. I'm not, that, you know, doors closed. It's appointment by appointment. I'm seeing a client. Or you allocate somebody else to manage that
Mhm.
on the
Yep.
day and go, no, this, the hat that I'm wearing today, and this is what I'm actually really advocating here to alleviate burnout. The hat that I'm wearing today is this. And you make a conscious choice to say, today I'm the artist. Today I'm the floor stylist. That's what I'm doing. And then another day you go, today I'm actually going to step into running the business. Today I'm
Mhm.
going to run the floor, like, manage the staff, manage the team, manage the business part of everything. And you put that hat on. But when you're actually taking on and off hats all day long, that is burnout. That is extreme burnout. And hairdressers have been doing it for way too long
Mhm.
in order to keep maintaining that level of exhaustion, that level of complication, on and off, in and out, this person, that person. And this is a split that I'm talking about. This is what
Mhm.
happens in persona. It becomes fractured. And that's why when you go home, you turn around to your partner and you go, you know what, I can't, I've worn so many hats today, I can't wear this hat. And I hear this a lot.
Mhm.
Partners always get the worst end of a hairdresser,
Yeah.
when they get home. I've had so many people say this to me. They go, I get home and I can't speak to my kids and I can't speak to my partner. And I just want everybody just to be quiet and leave me alone because
Mhm.
all I've done all day is talk. And it's like,
Yes.
so your partners are actually getting a completely different person when you go home. You're not a mother. You're not a father. You're not a partner. You're not a husband. You're not a wife. You're not anything. You're just exhausted. And that's the burnout we're talking about. So how do we actually balance? This is what's so beautiful about archetypal awareness.
Mhm.
How do we balance who it is that we are and who it is we want to be, and really step into the embodiment of that and own that archetypal energy and go, this is who I am. And it doesn't shift from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. It does not
Mhm.
shift. And you try that for a day and see whether you'll have a much more pleasant day because you're not putting on and off hats. You're not exhausted by the end of the day. And see what kind of relationship, if you have a partner, what kind of relationship you end up coming home to, and how those conversations and that energy between you and a loved one actually are integrative, or you're
Mhm.
enthused about it. You're not shutting them down and going, hey, make sure that bottle of wine's open for me when I get home because that's all I want to be talking to when I get there.
Yeah, but it's tough. Like, especially if you're in a corporate salon, though, they want you to be able to do everything. It's not a lot of salons, unless they're higher end, where you're specialized only in color and that's all you do. Most want you to be able to do everything. Like, so you have to be able to cut, be able to color, be able to foil, be able to balayage, be able to serve coffee, be able to answer the phone, be able to sweep up if you're not busy. They're demanding much more and for a minimum wage, usually, if you're not in a holistic sort of format. But if you're in a regular corporate format, they want you to do basically everything for minimum wage and tips. And most people, as I say, and that can freak some people out, because of course a lot of stylists are going to say, yes, I can do that, even if they can't, because they want to get hired. But once they're in it, now they're shoved into this environment that they chose to put themselves in. And then, because I've worked in environments like that where this girl said, yeah, I can foil, I can do all this. So, and then she gets hired, and then she gets booked to foil. She grabs me and runs to the back and says, I don't know how to foil. Can you show me? And it's like, well, you have a client here like right now. I'm like, why did you tell them you could when you obviously don't know how to? Right. So, I mean, it got resolved, but yeah, as I say, and that's part of being in your authentic self too, and knowing what your archetype is. And if you say, my archetype is, I'm a colorist, this is what I do, go in and say, I'm a colorist. I don't cut hair. I don't, whatever. So they know that. So, and that'll make your choice, where go to an upper salon that put each in the department, like the hair department is divided up in between cutting, coloring, styling, or as I say, even with aesthetics, they have the nail people, they have the skin people, right? So, or they have the body people. So then that way, okay, I only like doing this stuff. This is what I'm going to do. So why do something you're not proficient in? Like I say, don't go for a job as a facialist when you love doing nails. And you're not, or vice versa. You're a great facialist, but you're terrible at nails. So then, of course, you get booked with nail, and then now all the complaints are coming in. You're not really satisfied because that's not your thing, but yet you said, I can do it. And then the owner archetype, owner manager archetype, comes in. They have to like talk to you and kind of resolve the issues. But a lot, I think, being in your authentic self first in that archetype and going for things that are within that archetype, I think kind of alleviate a lot of stuff before it even happens.
Yeah, I mean, authenticity is a really big conversation today. Really is. Like we're at the end really of our conversation in terms of transformation, and authenticity has been 11 podcasts where we've actually been talking about, and it's been the thread. It's been the most common thread, and it's the most important thread, because if we're not in our authenticity and we're not actually managing ourselves in complete transparency and authenticity with what we're doing every day through everything, we're not able to embrace this holistic model that's coming through, because that is the holistic model is from the inside of you. You can't actually adapt a holistic model and use it as a mask. You can't pretend you're holistic if you're not authentic. So this is the bridge that I'm trying to, we've been talking about now for 11 podcasts. It's like, you have to be authentic in order to be holistic. You have to be authentic in order to set your boundaries. You have to be authentic to know what it is that your client is moving through, or what they're moving through, or how to hold space for that client. You need to be in your authentic self to know what your capacity is, to know the capacity of your container. Like, these are really important things. If you don't know who you are and how you show up in a space, you can't hold containers, holistic containers that we're talking about. It will crack. They will fall apart. So, and it's like understanding your energy, like, are you more feminine or you more masculine energy? And I'm not talking about gender here. Yeah. Like, none of the conversations that I've had are about gender. And I know there's a whole lot of stuff. So when I talk about masculine and feminine energy, I'm just talking about the energy. I'm not talking about the gender. I just want to be really clear about that, so no one gets offended by this conversation. Because I know that it's a sensitive subject, but there is a masculine and feminine energy. So if you're a male and you're more feminine in your energy, and you show up in that feminine energy, and you know this is who you are, and you're not being inauthentic about your femininity, and you're exposing that. This is another aspect that I want to bring into this as part of the archetypal pool, because you could be, say, for instance, you could be an artist in a male, but very feminine in that artist male, which is a very different behavioral characteristic expression that shows up. So what are the pieces that make your authenticity? What are the pieces that make up the unique magic of your authentic self in this archetype? And this is another little, I'm just bringing in feminine, masculine energy, because that changes, that shifts the way that we show up in each of our archetypal sort of like characters, personas, and this is another element to it. So are you bringing that in? Or are you suppressing that? Are you showing up as your complete authentic self in the energy that you are as well? So we're talking about behaviors, and now we're talking about the awareness of that energy. What energy are you that you're bringing into the picture with this? And hairdressing is a super creative industry, and we've got an array of different personas and characters and archetypes and energies that show up in our industry that are from every realm, like every realm. I was almost going to say, we've got unicorns, and we've got fairies, and we've got all of these amazing characters that show up. And it's like, does all of this magic of who you are, when we go back to our magic self back a few podcasts ago, is all of your magic showing up here? And are you confident and courageous enough to show up in everything that you are and everything that you're showing up? Because this is what actually allows the translation of authenticity between you and a client to start happening. Have I lost everybody in this conversation?
No, I think everybody's here. I think it's a lot for everybody to take in, because archetypes maybe is something that people haven't thought about before, or what type of archetype am I? Because it's something totally new that people that are in a holistic that want to go deeper, or people that aren't holistic yet that want to go into more of a holistic model, or some people may have never heard of archetype. Or maybe they have, but they don't really know, or they think of other archetypes, and there's a lot of them. You know what I mean? Like there's the healer, there's all different ones that, and to me, that's part of energy as well. Like when I think feminine energy, I think of nurturing, healing, caring, those elements. That's what I think of. Right. And then masculine energy is different than that. Right. So masculine energy is more, I'm going to say strength, because female energy can have strength as well, but also it's more logical, more, it's how you kind of look at things, I guess, too, and putting it in, because I think with the archetypes, when you have that feminine, masculine energy around it, I think it just intensifies the archetype as well.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose that's the reason why I brought that in, is like when we're talking about archetypes and we're dropping in, it's like you also need to, before we even drop into it, what energy do you carry? Because that's going to change. It will transform the way the archetype will show up. And what I'm bringing in here as well is that this is where we dissolve judgment. This is the line where the dissolvement of judgment actually comes in at play here, because we're embracing authenticity. We're embracing the unique character of how someone shows up in their authentic, energetic self through that archetype. So this is what I love about this, because it's actually a wide plethora of so many beautiful, unique translations of how someone will show up. And you being an observer, if we're actually looking at, we're going back all the way back, and actually what kind of an observer are you? Can you hold your own authenticity and allow somebody to completely unpack themselves in your space, in your container, I like to call it, and show all their colors without it affecting you. And this is the importance of actually holding and understanding and knowing and embodying your authentic archetype and going, this is who I am. So when someone shows up with theirs and they're unsure, you can still hold space for this unpack to occur. So this archetypes actually help you greatly with transforming a client really from the inside out. And from my experience of working with archetypal journeys, I've actually initiated people, like I've initiated people into kings and into queens and into princes and into all sorts of things, mothers, like transitional, if we go back to rites of passage, and then we actually look at the transition that happens from one archetype to the next archetype. That's a ritual. If we go back again to last week when we talked about ritual and the importance of ritual, this is what we're ritualizing. We are ritualizing a rite of passage and a transformation that somebody's moving through, moving into a new archetypal identity. And this is the celebration. I'm trying to keep this conversation as easy as possible. It is quite a deep, complicated one, but it's really powerful to know who you're working with simply and who's transitioning from what to what and who you are in that story. I'm just like, oh, it's different teaching this subject than it is just talking about it.
Well, of course, yeah. And people have to have an understanding of it as well. And say we've been leading up over the last, say, 11 weeks to this is part of it, because we always say be your authentic self. But then again, who is your authentic self? It's obviously an archetype. So in a sense that once you know who your archetype is, then I think you can also expand your authenticity from that as well. If you know what your role is in the salon, then you know what attributes to put that, whether you're a manager, whether you're an owner, whether you're the shampoo technician, whether you're the person that greets at the door, whether you're the person that assists, whether you're the colorist, whether you're the perm technician, whether you're the hairstylist, whether you're the main rock star hairstylist. Like, so there's all different things that kind of come with each of these archetypes and that kind of define you. And where you're where your status is in the, like you said, king, queen, you know what I mean? All that kind of stuff. Where are you so which part of the body are you in the well-oiled machine of the salon? Because one can't work with the other without the others. And like Mariana said before, if your shop had at least one of each of these, as opposed, you don't want 5 people all the same, because all those 5 the same are going to be butting heads at a certain point if they're all strong in their personalities, sort of thing. But and that's maybe one thing that owners should kind of look at too. How can I build a great archetypal team with these types of people that I need? And how can I mold, educate, mentor, that sort of thing as well, that kind of helps them come into their own archetype?
Yeah, I want to use an example. So you've got a client that's shown up and she's just told you she's pregnant. We're just going to have a case study. Yeah. And I think this is the most relative case study that we can use. And I think this is a case study is going to be perfect in this situation here. So we've got a client that's shown up. She's been a CEO of a company for ever and a day. And she's been this very masculine, energied woman that's been working, powerhouse, CEO, corporate, wears the suits, has sharp haircuts, all the rest of it. She comes in, she sits in your chair, and she tells you she's pregnant and she's having a baby. So this is, I just was sitting there going, how can we explain this so that it makes sense in the chair? And and all of a sudden you look at her and she's different. She's not her corporate go, get, coffee, let's go, phone on the phone. She's actually softened. There's something about her that's changed. There's a glow. There's a softening. There's a quietening that's actually happened to her. There is obviously a very physical as well. Maybe she's showing a little bit because she's pregnant now. Her conversations have changed. She's now talking about baby clothes and baby names, and she's talking about, so this is like this transitional moment. This is when one person is moving out of an archetype. This is the archetypal story, moving out of the corporate CEO archetype, and then they're moving into mother and the mother archetype and preparing for it. So if you understand what the characteristics and the behavioral patterns are associated with a corporate and how to actually communicate with somebody that's in that mindset. This is not saying that you're being inauthentic. This is just about you understanding the plethora of characteristics and behaviors that are associated with certain archetypal patterns. And then they're shifting into mother. And you go, oh, I understand the language of mother, the archetypal mother. And I can speak to my client in that language because she's shifting. But what you've actually become aware of, there are a couple of things that have happened here. Your client is actually moving through a rite of passage. She's actually being initiated out of, I'm not saying she stopped working, but she's actually moving from being a corporate CEO person as to how you relate with her, because you're not at work with her, she's your client, to moving into being a mother. So the shift, the transition, the rite of passage that you're actually moving through with that client is that she's actually stepping into mother. So the way that you're relating with her is going to change. And having this information really supports how you can address, how you can relate, how you can engage, how you can also drop into visionary with this woman, because her hair might change. The way she wants to present herself might change. It might soften. She might actually go, I want to grow my hair a little bit longer now. So this is all part of the behavioral characteristics of what's going on when someone's transitioning. And if I'm explaining it in this way, it's like, it feels like, oh, that is important to know. Like, you really take a look at it and go, that's really important to know, because the more you're informed as a hairdresser of understanding the behavioral patterns and the characteristics that somebody's actually shifting in and out of, the more professional you can show up with your client in being able to really help them transform and transition in an internal and external way, not just, oh, okay, let's just grow your hair longer and give you a trim today, without any association to the behavioral and the characteristics that are changing in that process. So that's what's so important about archetypes.
Exactly. And she, if she's in corporate and then no longer now in corporate, her needs are going to change. She's not going to need the same as she did before. She's not going to spend whatever time per day once the arrival comes, that, you know what I mean? She's not going to be wanting to blow dry a curling iron, hot tools, a product, all that kind of stuff. And especially too, if you're in a thing where you're not as comfortable in your body, because now you have more aches and pains than you did before. You have more cravings than you had before. The last thing usually, I think, on anyone's list, I think it's in your mind, you want to look better, but you just feel that that's the last thing on your list right in the moment, is having to do your hair, take care of your hair, do all that kind of stuff. So if a hairstylist can help with that and guide, and like you said, not point out the obvious, but just say, hey, why don't we grow your hair out? Why? Because eventually it's going to be easier to maybe do a ponytail style or something like that might be easier for your client as they're transitioning and the rite of passage going through that journey, because now they're not the same corporate archetype. Now they're the mother archetype, which now changes. The same person, but obviously too, we change every day. We have different facets. We learn new information, and say she got the news, or maybe she's showing, now that changes her. So I think too, you can pick up, like you said, the client is glowing. So there's certain things you can notice, and she's not complaining, say, how could this happen? Or she's uncomfortable with it. And it's like, this is the wrong timing. So that's going to, kind of indicate to you where she's at. Obviously, this client thinks it's a beautiful, joyful experience and wants to go through that and wants to go through the transition of being a corporate leader to being a mother and guiding in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I just want to point out, you pointed out something really important here, but
mm-hmm.
it's a much deeper conversation, and we're talking about shadows. So when we're learning this subject, it's like we do delve into shadow with it. So there's the light. I just want to bring into light with everybody. There is the light and there is the shadow of an archetype. There is the light version of an archetype, which is, I'm becoming a mother. I'm positive. Yes, this is a conscious choice. I'm moving into this. And then there's a shadow, which you just shared before. Like, this is bad timing. I wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't planning this. And that's the shadow. And I just, so like there's different behavioral attributes that you're going to need to show up in based on whether it is in the light or in the shadow. How do you prepare yourself to move into those kind of conversations? How do you navigate? If you do have a client that's sitting in the chair going, I'm pregnant and I really didn't want this, and I don't know what I'm going to do now, and I've got this baby coming, and they're really avoidant with their experience, and you might have a person like that sitting in your chair. So again, understanding the light and the shadow of a character or an archetypal shift helps you sort of like go, okay, so I'm going to use this kind of line of conversing, or I'm going to use this kind of space holding with this client. I'm going to let the client talk today, and I'm going to listen, because the client needs to actually unpack within your boundaries, of course, where they're not dumping. So let's just be very clear about this, because some clients can actually vent on their hairdressers, and then hairdressers end up with being dumped on, and they have to carry that for the rest of the day, which is also not a healthy boundary to uphold, where you're being done that to. So still keep the boundary, and if it exceeds your boundary, if they are dumping and they are venting, you can call it and just go, it feels like there's a lot going on here for you, and I'm just bringing in the shadow here. It feels like there's a lot going on for you, and maybe you should speak to somebody that can hold space with you about that, because I don't have those tools. So there is a limit to where we can go, and archetypes can go in a therapy sense. It can go very deeply, where you're really transforming somebody from the inside out, but we're not talking about it going to that depth. What we're talking about here is understanding the characters of a person, shifting from one to another, and identifying those behavioral patterns and those characteristics, so that you can actually embrace and enhance the magic. Just like you were saying before, Brad, it's like if a woman's moving from corporate into becoming a mother, she's going to want a different haircut. And this is where it all comes down to. She's going to need something easy. She's not going to need a high maintenance hairstyle to do every morning, because she's got a baby now, and that's just not going to work. So these are things that you need to factor in terms of, my client's shifting from this to that. Okay, I need to actually adapt a different mindset as to how we're going to reflect this woman or man into their authenticity and the right that they're moving into, and the new archetypal pattern that they're actually adapting to, which may take time, and you may need to plan it. I mean, a woman's pregnant for 9 months. So you could actually spend those 9 months actually preparing your client. This is what's so beautiful about these journeys. You can actually, each time she sees you or he sees you, you can actually prepare them in each session and use that archetypal drop in, the transition from one to another. You can use those 9 months to prepare your client in that way. So you're not like going, from that to that immediately, which actually causes trauma in a client. You can just take a time, go on a journey, maybe even map it out with them and go, okay, we've got 9 months. How about we start with this, and we can move, into this and into that, and gradually work you into, it could be changing someone's color. Like, having something that's low maintenance, where you don't have to have regrowth done every 4 weeks because they're not going to have the time for it. Let's start working you, slowly, gradually working your way into a low maintenance hairstyle. And that's how archetypes really, really help. They really, really, really help.
Exactly. And especially a lot of them too, if their color is a big one, transitioning from, you know, to having color done to now I want to be all natural. I want my natural grays to come out. I don't want to color anymore. So too, when you're kind of taking them from, unless they want to do a whole pile of corrective work in one day, it's going to take a few sessions to take them to get rid of that demarcation line, especially if they've been doing it for years. It's a heavy dark color that's kind of, and now they're all gray or white, but they've been doing a really dark tone. You need to take that transition, because a lot of people say, I want to go my natural color. You take that time and you take them back gray. They're still kind of, for some people, they don't think it's them, or they're in that shock stage, or it's like, I don't want gray anymore. I just want to be dark. And all of a sudden they go dark and they're not ready for it. Because that changes them. Same if you're dark and now you're a redhead, or now you like your highlight color, so you want your whole head to be the highlight color. But the thing is, with the highlight color, you have a contrast that goes against it, which blends it in, which makes it easier, but if you're just that platinum blonde all over now with no contrast, then that kind of, I think, adjusts to the personality, the type of person they are, by their color. Is it a subtle color? Is it a bold color? Is it a fantasy color? Is it that sort of thing too? And I think with working with clients and knowing what their type is, like, does this fit into their type? It's the same when clients say, do anything you want, which never means do anything you want. It always means do whatever you want within my parameters or limitations, right? That's really what they mean, or within my boundaries. So, and if they were like, cut it short, and short to them is half an inch off, not half an inch left, you want to make sure that you understand that, or they're going to change their archetype pretty quick. Into a shadow type,
very quickly. And also trauma, like, let's bring in that, like the inner awareness, like you're just saying, Brad, they're not aware of the transitional periods, like actually creating room for transition to occur. This is like psychologically, this is actually this is where trauma actually lives. And really planning, having this kind of holistic awareness of planning the journey of your client so that trauma isn't activated, and that alignment and preparation psychologically, emotionally, and physically are actually factored into the whole experience with your client. And this is the holistic way of looking at it, like not fracturing a client's identity and personality, and preparing your client for the transition. And that's why when a client comes to you and says, hey, I'm becoming a mother, immediately that's a sound for you saying, my client's transitioning. I need to start adapting a different mindset and journey preparation for my client. And it's something that you need to discuss with your clients. You need to sit down, again, a holistic model. You sit down with them, you have a deep consultation about their experience of, okay, so how are you feeling? What's going on for you? What are you experiencing right now? How would you actually like to journey through this transition, the language that you're using from being a corporate to a mother? How can I support you in transitioning into this new stage of your life? The new language that we're using here. How can we use this time for you to actually transition into becoming a mother? And how are we going to reflect that? How would you like to be reflected as a mother? Another new language here. What does a mother look like for you? What does your mother look like for you? How would you like to reflect the mother within you? New language here. So you're actually having very consensual conversations with your client that's very exposed and very authentic. This kind of conversation is what creates alignment and magic. These are the conversations that create alignment and magic in your clients, because you're giving your client permission to completely acknowledge this transitional phase that they're in and the embarkment of stepping in. It's not like, oh, I'm becoming a mother, you don't go to that salon because it's too funky. No, you're actually embracing this change with your client, and you're making it inclusive. It's very important, because some people aren't comfortable with transition. So what language are you utilizing? What language, what methods, what communication styles and tools are you bringing in to relate with your clients, to allow this unencumbered transitional journey that your client's moving through to feel embraced and welcomed? This is really important part of really embracing holistic methods and holistic transitions from, oh, you're becoming a mother. I'm gonna use abruptive oh, you're becoming a mother. Cool. Okay. Well, so how would you like to reflect that? That's very abrasive communication. That would actually put somebody in defense and not in opening. But if you speak in this way, potentially, this is just a suggestion. Oh, wow, you're transitioning through a new phase in your life. How exciting. What does that look like for you? How can I support you? That kind of language opens up a person's heart, a person's soul. It relaxes their shoulders. They're not contracted. They're not apprehensive about, because there might be apprehension about this transition, and they feel welcomed and embraced by you. So there's support that's kicking in, and it's a journey. Remember, you're on a journey with your clients. It's not a haircut. It's a journey, especially if you look at the clients you've had for years and years and years. How many transitions have you moved through with your clients? How many archetypes have your clients moved through that you've supported? Maybe not consciously, but you have supported them from one to another.
Exactly. And one thing, communication is very important. As I say, if you're in a salon, the client says, maybe they're whispering to you or they're keeping low. Oh, I'm pregnant. And you're like, wow, congratulations. But you don't even know yet how they feel about it. So you don't want to put that and assume that it's great news, because it may or may not be. So when you bring them back to your chair and you have the conversation, and then like Mariana said, then you talk to them. How are we going to proceed? Let's develop a plan, or whatever it may be. But I think too, before you kind of make an assumption when they tell you some news, know how they feel about the news first that they're telling you. And then you'll know your next steps. Right. Especially too, if you're not really watching body language or tone in the voice or the expression on their face, or, maybe they haven't told anybody yet and nobody knows, and you're the first one they're telling. So they don't even know how they feel, because they bought a test at the drugstore and it said, but maybe it's a false positive. Who knows? So, and then they come back the next time and say, oh, when I told you this, now it's, this is what happened. So that's why, as I say, you kind of have to balance too, and kind of go with those sort of things. So we're an hour in. If anybody's watching now, we're talking about our archetypes. So Mariana's gone through the top 4 sort of things. So Mariana, if you just want to go through again for anybody joining kind of later in the program, and if we covered or we missed anything or what we still need to cover.
Well, we've been talking about like how archetypes show up in hairdressers, and I've just plucked 4 out of my theories, and one of them is the director, the other one's the artist, another is the empath and the therapist. So these are just archetypal characteristics that show up in the salon in a general sense. And I'm using these archetypes for salon operators And it helps us identify with who it is that we are and how it is that we show up and what behavioral characteristic patterns that we have associated and developed within these personalities. Archetypal personalities. Let's just be in those two for now to support people in understanding and integrating the archetypal language. So the personality that you are. This actually, in identifying these archetypes, these personalities within you, helps establish and expand the authenticity of who it is that you are. And this is the most important thing, because if we're running an authentic holistic salon, understanding the role that you play in that space, in that team, within that community, that tribe that you've got in your space, is really important in terms of how clients actually associate with you and which clients you can actually choose to work with in that knowing. And if you're an artist, for instance, you're going to want to work with a certain kind of clientele. And if you know that about yourself, you'll attract that kind of clientele to you. And that's what's really important about understanding your personality, your characteristic, your archetypal truth, authenticity in terms of how you're working in a collective. And then when we're bringing, and we're also talking about how that shows up with a client, understanding transitions, having great observation skills, non-verbal skills, which I really want to bring up with what you're saying about communication, which I've weaved in here. But again, like really identifying the non-verbal cues that a client is expressing to you without saying anything, and being attentive enough and present enough to pick that up so you can start making up the picture. Because sometimes clients are moving through something and they're unaware of it. And it's your job to actually pay attention, be present, pay attention to what's shifting so that you can actually help transform your clients as authentically as possible by observing them in totality, not just having a projected idea of who you think they should be and projecting that onto them. You're allowing them to inform you. You're allowing them to unpack the personality, the characteristic, the transition that they're moving through their own lens. This is a very important part. This is a very important tip here, is like, are you projecting your idea onto them, or have they got enough room to share with you their perspective, their image, their idea of themselves?
Of course. Yeah. And everybody has their own idea of what they think they look like to themselves, to others, to, so what they see in the mirror may not be the same thing that you see. And even in salons, lighting can be that too, because you say, oh, your color is beautiful. And they're like, my hair is red. Like they have a blonde, but they're like, my hair is red, because that's all they see. But it may be the lighting that's on there. And I'd say some people, they could be platinum and they'll still see red or gold or brass. It's like what they kind of associate with as well. But as I say, and for us, it's about bringing what's on the inside of them, as opposed to what externally is out there as well. Because I say one thing that came to my mind was, you want, what is it? An inner winner and not an outer shouter. So an inner winner is inside, they're like, yes, this is what I wanted. So it's nonverbal. But then on the external is the dark shadow side. That's where the outer shouter is like, what did you do to me? I see red in my hair. The positive part of that is the inner winner and outer shouter. Is the inner winner, it's like, yes, they gave me what I wanted. The outer shouter is, I absolutely love this. I got to tell everybody to come to you. So that's the two I think you kind of want to always have. So that's when the inner matches the outer and the outer matches the inner, and you've hit it spot on. And just because you hit it once means you'll probably have to hit it again, because as this client goes through their life, they're going to change and their taste is going to change. So you have to make sure that even you nailed it that one time, maybe the next time now they want something totally different, or they're in a different place, or they had something unexpected happen and now they need to change their way of how they do hair,
Mm.
or how they have to do their hair, sort of thing. Like in the example of, getting pregnant, sort of thing. Now that changes a person's lifestyle. So it's not just their hair, but also hair changes during that time as well as physical changes during pregnancy, depending on what trimester they're in. They're going to, it's going to be thick and full, or it's all going to fall out,
Yeah.
and which stages you're in. Same if you have any kind of thing, or you're diagnosed with certain things where they lose hair, or you have to shave the head. That's also something too. And that also is associated with identity, trauma, all that kind of stuff as well. And their archetype now is going to change. Maybe they were in a strong, powerful position. Now the position they're in now, or their archetype now has changed, or they were in a corporate management job, but now they have to take care of their parents. So now they have the role of the healer, or the role of something else, right? So and we deal a lot with that all the time. So, and maybe they don't have the same amount of time they used to with their hair. So now we also have to adapt to and guide them with their journey. And I think that's what we are. I think Mary, and I mentioned that before, that we are there to guide them, not say tell them what to do, but we're there to guide them, because we're not licensed therapists. We're not, so you don't want to give somebody advice or your opinion and it backfires on you. That's the last thing you ever want to do.
Yeah, we're like, guide is a very operative word here that we're actually really talking to, and we're really becoming guides into that, and becoming a really authentic and empowered guide is somebody that's got amazing observation skills and presence. And that is like having the ability to notice, like what your client's moving through, what's happening to your client, and even noticing it in their body language and their characteristics and how they're showing up. Knowing, like, if you've been working with a client for a long time, if someone's actually having a bad day, you would know that about them, because you've spent enough time with them to understand their body language, to know that if they're feeling sad, or they're feeling up, or they're feeling whatever it is that they're feeling, you've already established a file, I like to call, on that client. But if you're just going by the old file all the time and projecting that file onto them, you're not actually allowing for an adventure to occur. You're not allowing for the transformation of a client. And they might not be going through a major transitional phase from going from a corporate leader to a mother. They might just be going, what, I'm done with who I am. I'm tired of waking up to this. You could get something as simple as that. I know I've had that a million times. I'm tired of being this person. I'm tired of showing up with this haircut and being this person. I'm tired. I need to change. Boom, operative word. I need to change. They're moving through a transition, but it might not be completely an archetypal shift. It could potentially just be a personality upgrade, where they're just like, I'm feeling like, perfect example, like you were sharing before. I'm feeling like I just want to get brighter. It's summertime. I want to go brighter. I want to feel like there's more light in my face. Why do you want to have more light in your face? And this is so tell me, what does having more light around your face make you feel? This is the kind of language that we're talking about. This is still an archetypal shift. This is still an archetypal shift that's going on, but it's understanding the subtlety. Now, this is a subtle archetypal shift. It's like, I just want to go from being a brunette to a blonde. Okay, so tell me about this transition. Tell me about what's going on for you. What's happening in your world where you want to be lighter? This is psychological. This is something that's going on very deeply with your client. And if you just spend enough time in the communication, the consultation phase, to understand what's really going on with them, you can transform them in the most amazing way. It might not be as dramatic as they've had it in their head until you've had this conversation with them. And they might have had this idea, I just want to go from black to platinum blonde. And it might not be that dramatic. When you actually have the conversation, it might be like, oh, let's transition into blonde. let's go on a journey with this transformation. And they might go, yeah, actually, yeah, I hear that, because you're guiding the transformation. You're the professional guide to the transformation. And again, it's up to the client, but you are the professional. They've come to you for your professional advice. So if you see that it would be much better set if they take this going from dark to blonde over 3 or 4 sessions, then that's what you guide them with. Why do you want to take your time doing this? What's the purpose? What's going on? It's because of what you've noticed is going on with them. And that if you go from brunette to blonde, trauma could occur. They might not be ready for it. There might not have been enough prep time, psychological prep time I'm talking about here, identity prep time, personality prep time to prepare for this transformation. So when you're shifting from one to another, it's really important that everything is in alignment with it. And alignment is what causes the magic and not cause trauma.
Exactly. And there's, as you say, like it is psychological when they want to change. So when you discuss with them more deeper, because you don't want to have to do all that transformation, take them from a box black to like a platinum over 3 to 4 sessions. And these aren't short sessions. These are like hours long. And then you do all that work and now they decide, oh, I think I want to go back brown again. After you did all that work, maybe going deeper, you could say, what about trying, or some salons or professionals, they have some wigs or toppers or that sort of thing. Why not let them try it on and say, let's see you in these colors, or suggest that they go somewhere, try it on, see it, feel it. Is it you? Because if we go and do all this work, and then we go and have to color you back, and then going back and forth, because you'll get some people too. Oh, it's too dark. Now it's too blonde. Now it's now a couple more low lights. Now I need more highlights because I don't like the low lights. It's, you know what I mean? You want to know where they are, or why are they so indecisive about, like, as you say, like what's too light, what's too dark. And you may have only added one foil and then they're like, it's too dark or too light sort of thing. So it's really knowing their type. So it's another episode is gone really quickly again. So as we kind of wrap up, is there any final notes you would like to add, Mariana, on archetypes?
Just everything that we've spoken about over the last 11 episodes now is about really identifying transformation. That's just what I want to end with. And we're ending with archetypes because it is the last little nugget that really enables the awareness of what transformation looks like, and how do we embrace the power that we have when we're working with clients. And I'm talking about the power of knowledge, the power of awareness, the power of consultation, the power of communication within those consultations, the power of presence, the power of embracing the uniqueness and the individual that's sitting in front of you and transforming them at their most authentic self by having these tools in awareness. So this journey we've been on is a transformational journey that we've been on over these last 11 episodes to embrace this new modality, this new thought process of how do we transform people authentically. Go back and listen to the 11 podcasts from the beginning to now and see what has actually transformed in you. This is, who are you now after these 11 podcasts? Like, who are you now? And that was our intention, was this was a transformative journey with everybody. And I'm curious to know what you've actually gotten out of the 11 podcasts that we've actually shared, and how they've transformed you, how they've informed you, how they've expanded you, and how different, if at all, have your sessions become from these 11 podcasts as well. Like, what's changed in your world from them?
Yeah, that would be amazing to hear from everyone.
Yeah.
You can always comment below wherever you're watching or listening. You can also follow us on social media. At Instagram, you can follow me at Brad Celebrity Hairstylist and Beauty Industry Cruises as well, which is this episode has been brought to you by, and that's at Beauty Industry Cruises on Instagram. Mariana, if you want to head to her website, it's www.headed.com.au. She's going to talk a little bit about what Head Ed is, what you're going to learn, when it's coming up, how you can get signed up, that sort of thing as well. Before we do that, I just want to say thank you, everyone. If you have any questions on today's episode or would like to be a guest or have a show idea, you can email Hairstylist Empowerment Podcast at outlook.com. So I'm going to hand it over to Mariana, and she's going to talk about Head Ed and Evolve with you.
Yeah, Evolve for 2024, everybody. Really exciting. So if you've really enjoyed listening to these 11 podcasts, then you'll really enjoy delving deeply into Evolve, which is going to kick off on the 1st of February in 2024. It is 12 months. It's a module a month. And we dive deeply into all of these subjects that we've spoken about over the last 11 podcasts and even more. And you really get to embody the knowledge and to work through the knowledge through my unique map processes that help you create alignment with the knowledge and the somatic experience, the physical experience of embodiment through this as well. Evolve is amazing. It is the leading into the knowledge, the curriculum into becoming a holistic, mindful stylist. I believe this is where we need to go in terms of embracing being a holistic stylist. So if you're interested in becoming an evolved hairdresser, please go to me at www.headed.com.au and follow the Evolve link and book your discovery call with me today. And let's have a chat. Let's have a chat and see if you're ready to evolve in 2024.
Wow, I'm sure they're going to sign up right away because who wouldn't want to transform from the inside out? So, something that I mentioned before is this today's episode is brought to you by Beauty Industry Cruises. So, it's powerful education and beautiful destinations. One of those destinations is this January. We're going to be in Australia. Mariana and I will be in Australia. It's a 5-day event, which we're going to have. So the days on land, you are free to explore Melbourne, which we leave from, and then we go to the most sustainable places in Hobart. We have an overnight there. So, and then the days we're at sea, those are our education days, our days to like reflect, look in the mirror, see ourselves as we truly are, and really make sure that our insides match our outsides. This is your time for the word that comes to mind to me is rebirth. So it's your time to kind of, reinvent, rebirth, reform, choose the right archetype for you, you know what I mean? And then come June, we'll be in the Mediterranean as well. So you can go there at www.beautyindustrycruises.com. You can check out all the information. So our cruise event will be January 27th to February 1st. So it's coming fast. So you want to make sure that you get signed up, you get your cabin booked. The great thing is we're going to be on Virgin Voyages Resilient Lady, which is a brand new ship from Virgin, Richard Branson's newest ship that's just kind of launched. And the great thing is they have 20 plus special eateries that are all included. Your entertainment's included. They have yoga, they have meditation, they have Pilates, they have all kinds of stuff. The group workouts are all included as well. Your free basic beverages are included, free Wi-Fi, basic Wi-Fi is included. So basically everything that you need is already included in the one price already. So we'd love to see everybody there. The same, we'd love to see everybody as we come to our next episode, our final wrap-up episode number 12. So if you haven't seen all of them, you can always go back, you can always watch and then get caught up and that sort of thing. And we'll kind of wrap everything up in our last final one. So, and just to say, because here in Canada and US, the times have changed. So in Australia, the time is the same. It's Mondays, 9 a.m. But now for us, it's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of 6. So the time works out that way now. Even though our time is back, we're still later, and it all makes sense. So yeah, that's it's yeah. So I want to thank everybody for watching. I thank for joining. It was a little bit quiet tonight, but that's okay. We can always have some quiet. I guess they were just in awe of all the information that they were all absorbing in. And they can't wait till next week. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and we'll see you next time.